Hi guys, it's me Ty here, and today I'm going to talk about how to do a faster oil change on a Case SR240 skid steer. They're made in 2016. Well, the company I went to work for, they have one. It's a really nice condition and everything, and this is going to be my first time doing an oil change on it. So I watched the YouTube video, and they said pull off the left rear quarter panel. So I bolted that with the three bolts on it, and your oil filter's in there, and then your drain hose is sticking out of there, and it's just got you just stick two wrenches on it, a 22 millimeter and a 7/8 to crack it loose. And lots of times I'll do a cold oil change just to save time. You just don't have time to be running it or whatever. That hose is so small on there. I went ahead and I cracked that, and it was just barely a drizzle coming out of there. The hole is small enough as it is, but it just barely anything was coming out of there. And I probably let it drain for maybe 7 minutes, and I just was not getting anything out of there. So I went ahead and I put the drain plug back in, and I said that I was going to get the engine good and hot. And when I put the drain plug in, I checked and I'd also pulled the oil filter off at the same time just to see if it would drain faster. And um, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get it good and hot or whatever. So put, like I said, I left the quarter panel off, put the filter back on, uh, put the drain plug back in, and I checked the oil dipstick, and it was barely below full. That's how little it let out there. So I went ahead and I threw the bucket on there and went up to a pile of sand and just started working the machine, just lifting it up, dropping it, backing up, going back and forth. Did that for 10 minutes till I got it good and hot. Brought it back in the shop. Went ahead and did the same thing. Pulled the drain plug in the filter, and it was flowing just a little bit more, but still just barely flowing. And on the service manual, because like I said, I watched a YouTube video, and that's how they said to do it was just pull those two. And I checked the service manual or the operator's manual, and it said the exact same thing. So I was like, oh, I better call up the Case dealership. So I called them, talked to the service manager, and I told them that it was just barely coming out of there. I got it good and hot, and I pulled the oil fill cap and then also the dipstick out just to let it all breathe too. And he's like, that drain hose of yours must be kinked or whatever. So I went ahead and I jacked up the right rear tire of the skid steer and put blocks, two by fours high underneath of it. And I pulled the inspection plate underneath the oil pan area. And I checked out that hose coming from the oil pan, and it was not kinked at all. Um, but there is a 90-degree copper fitting coming out of the bottom, and that thing looks like it's so small as well, for that oil to get through. So I went ahead and I took the hose clamp off of that 90-degree fitting and tried prying the hose off, but it turns out that it has metal wires in it. It looks like it's a hydraulic hose actually. Um, and yeah, you're gonna have one heck of a time trying to pry that off of there. So, because what I really thought about doing is if I could get that hose off, I was gonna unscrew the whole bottom oil drain plug, and then it would be just like your car, where the oil would just flow just like that, or your tractor or anything like that. But I would have had to probably get the 4.5 inch grinder or something up in there and just cut off that hose and then unscrew that, um, the fitting on the bottom, and then I would take that in an Napa and just get the right size fitting to go into there, and that would just make it a really fast oil change. But I said not to waste my time with that. I was just so busy. Um, but if it was my personal skid steer, that's what I would be doing, you guys, because I would go through that work. Um, so what I did is I went ahead and I jacked up that with that jacked up rear tire there. It tipped the machine enough that it ended up taking, I don't know, maybe a half hour to an hour, and it quit flowing out of there completely. And I got just about my 2.5 gallons in there. So, um, if you have a Case skid steer, that's just the way that it is. Just tip that machine up on its side, and like I said, get that oil good and hot, and remove your fill cap and your dipstick, and you're gonna take 30 minutes to an hour. Just decide that you're gonna do that. And I asked one of my buddies about it, and I also watched a YouTube video on what other people do. A guy on YouTube, he had a Bobcat skid steer. Like I said, ours is a Case brand, and you still have to drain through that drain hose on the left rear side or whatever. And then John Deere is the exact same way. And my buddy with the John Deere, he said it is a pain in the butt with them as well. He said that what his motto is, he's like, whenever I'm draining engine oil out of there, he's like, I go to town to have dinner or go to town and do something, or it's like I'll just let it drain overnight and go to bed. He's like, it's that big of a hassle with these skid steers. And I told him about my plan that I was thinking about just taking a grinder and grinding off that hose and just replacing the drain plug in the bottom of the engine oil pan. And he's like, actually, he's like, with John Deere, you don't even have that option. He's like, you have an inspection cover, but it's way off to the side, and you wouldn't be able to get a grinder up in there or whatever to replace that plug. And I was like, well, us case owners, we actually do have that option. I was like, if I got that plug out of there, it drains straight through that inspection plug cover, and that inspection plug cover is probably that darn wide and probably that darn thick or whatever, height or whatever. It's there will be plenty of room to do it. Um, so yeah, like I said, as of right now, I'm probably not going to cut that hose. I'll just keep doing this of where I jack up that tire and just tip the machine up on its side and wait an hour for it to all drizzle out. But you guys will get every last drop out of oil there because, like I said, mine was not flowing at all, not even a drip anymore. I did get it all out after an hour. So if you guys like this content, like, share, and subscribe. All right, bye.